Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you today. And I always enjoy speaking to fellow economists because I know you understand. I know you understand what's at stake, not only with our economy, but with our nation. Let me first start with my conclusion. I believe that there is hope for the economy, and actually I can see and anticipate that there are decades of sustainable growth propelled by investment, innovation, and believe it or not, cheap energy. I have titled this talk, It's the Economy Stupid? The Sequel. It was thought to be James Carville who first coined the phrase, it's the economy stupid. He was the political strategist for Bill Clinton. As every politician knows, people vote with their pocketbooks. And with unemployment north of 8%, the economy is the issue in this election, and the election will be determined on how the economy is doing. I know as economists you like to divide the economy into thirds. You have corporate America, you have the consumer, and you have government. Probably since the end of World War II, it's been the consumer that has routinely brought the economy out of recession with waves of spending financed primarily by cheap credit, advancing home values, and what I call the financial evolution of the baby boom generation. For all the reasons you and I both know, that isn't going to happen this time. The game is over. The federal government, which has traditionally used the combination of monetary and fiscal policy to stimulate the economy, can do neither at this point in time. With respect to the monetary policy, the Federal Reserve has used its last bullet. The gun is empty. With respect to the fiscal policy, we have seen various programs such as tax cuts, tax credits, the extension of unemployment benefits that have only had a temporary effect on the economy. They've basically been ineffective, wasteful, costly to administrate. But probably the most important reason that fiscal policy is not a good tool at this point is that the country is basically broke. Any additional spending is one more dollar of additional debt. Which brings us to corporate America. Corporate America is in fabulous shape. I believe it started back in the 1980s with the whole IT computer revolution. Corporate America knew that if they didn't get with it and innovate and invest, that they would be left behind. They had to adjust to what we now call the new normal. The motivation to invest and innovate was enhanced, I believe, by the coming of Y2K at the end of the 1990s and the emerging of the world markets of Russia, China, India, and Brazil. As we approach the Great Recession of 08, 09, and 10, corporate America is in good shape with the exception of the banking industry. Corporate America comes out of the decline in even better shape with record profits, record profit margins, and terrific balance sheets loaded with lots of cash. Today, most politicians and the man on the street kind of look at corporate America with a little envy and some disdain. They don't understand why corporations aren't hiring and investing. You and I know the answer is reasonably simple. Corporate CEOs are afraid of the uncertainty surrounding regulation, health care, and probably most of all the tax code. But if we were to get some clarity in those issues and others, I believe there would be an avalanche of hiring and investment. I believe it's important to get inside the head of a CEO, or maybe more importantly inside the head of a CFO. For the CEO of corporations, they're not there to watch their corporation just exist. They need to have the corporation grow. And it isn't going to happen by sitting on a pile of cash and not making any investments. With respect to the CFO, as we know, they're numbers people. And they're looking at their return on their equity, their return on their investment, and their return on their capital. Sitting on large piles of cash with unleveraged balance sheets is going to only distract from the returns of those equations. They have no reason other than fear to sit on large piles of cash. one more important reason to get inside the head of a CEO. I really believe that once the CEO starts to see his competition hiring and investing, they will not want to be left behind. I anticipate that once it is apparent that things have changed, the investment and hiring necessary to rejuvenate this economy will be like a runaway train. By now, it is probably very apparent how I would get the economy to grow. I would focus on regulation and the tax code. Now, both political parties have given lots of lip service to closing corporate tax loopholes. But the reality is, each one of those loopholes has a corporate sponsor and a lobbyist that has not only contributed to the party, but also contributed to the individual politician. For that reason, I believe that only a third party independent candidate who has not sold their political soul would be able to change the tax code. With respect to regulation, I'd put a halt to any new regulation, and I'd review any regulation that had been passed in the last 8 years. I would call for the repeal of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, Dodd-Frank, Obamacare, the Jones Act, the Davis-Bacon Act. And I have a particular interest in revising and reforming the FDA, the SEC, and the Department of Agriculture. The good news is that there are so many things wrong with regulation in the tax code. It is my belief that once we have demonstrated that change is not only possible, but could be significant, corporate America will start to invest, start to innovate, and more importantly, start to hire, creating significant improvement in the economy, improving home values, and increasing the overall revenues to state, local, and the federal government. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate your attention.